Ingeteam Power Technology. Power Grid Automation. Tutorials. Topic: Web Display Editor of INGEPAC IEDs. In this video, we will learn how to customize the web displays of INGEPAC IEDs using the latest Web Display Editor add-in. To start, we will open the Pack Factory application. We will pick the IED in which to edit the web display configuration. To enter the Web Display Editor, click on the Web Server tag found under the Configuration section in the left-hand column. Initially, we will set up a simple single-line diagram featuring one bus bar and one breaker. This breaker within the SLD will be controllable. Next, we will create another single-line diagram with the same breaker, but this time it will not be controllable. Similar to the local display editor, these web displays allow us to configure measurements and counters, as well as active elements like disconnectors and indicators. By clicking the bell icon on the toolbar, we can also create a custom alarm screen. First, we will generate a new alarm screen. Then, we will specify the number of rows and columns required to accommodate all signals. Additionally, we have the option to customize the on and off value colors. Next, we will add the signals one by one or in groups. It's possible to insert blank cells to leave empty spaces within the alarm grid. The table on the left lets us configure descriptive texts and whether the signal status should be inverted. We can also modify the short address for each signal, which will be used for descriptive texts in the alarm grid. Next to the bell icon is a bullet point list icon. This icon opens the signal list screen editor. We will create a new signal list screen. We will rename it. Columns can be added one at a time. Each column title can also be renamed. We will then assign signals to each column. The descriptive text for every signal can be adjusted. Next to the signal screen editor, the events editor is located and operates in a comparable manner. We will begin by creating a new events configuration. First, name the events configuration. Then, decide how many descriptive texts will be visible. Afterwards, configure the columns for acronym. Finally, add the relevant signals to the table. The fourth black icon on the toolbar opens the single-line editor within the Web Display Editor add-in. The last icon displaying the letters A and Z with a downward arrow lets us organize the screen order on the web server. The screen order and availability will be configured so that not all users will have access to the same screens. There are only 2 users in this configuration. These users correspond to the INGEPAC devices without advanced cybersecurity features. The P_admin user will have access to all the screens we've designed and the ability to control the breaker. Screens will be reordered so the single-line diagram appears first. Next, we will configure the screen access for the P_visu user on the web server. This user will only be permitted to see the non-controllable single-line diagram and the alarm screen. Beyond selecting which screens each user can access, we can also adjust the title, command origin, and command locking settings for each role. Once this configuration is complete, the last toolbar icon will allow us to check the configuration. As opposed to the INGEPAC IEDs without advanced cybersecurity features, the INGEPAC IEDs with advanced cybersecurity features are based on the role-based access control user access method. Therefore, in order to make old display configurations compatible with IEDs with higher firmware versions which have advanced cybersecurity features, we will need to adjust the role configuration of the web display. To toggle between these configurations, we will click on the Switch button located to the left of the white table under the Users tab. A pop-up window appears where the P_admin and P_visu web users can be mapped to the default roles defined in the RBAC configuration of INGEPAC IEDs. Here, the command origin for these default roles can also be specified. Once we have translated the role configuration from P_admin and P_visu, we may include non-default roles to it. For example, we will create a role that only has access to the controllable single-line diagram and the alarm screen. This new role must also be defined in the IED's RBAC settings, and a user must be assigned to it. Restoring the user configuration back to P_admin and P_visu is possible using the same switch button. In this case, we will assign which roles will correspond to P_admin and P_visu. Lastly, we will log into the IEDs web server with the default SFTP user, which has the default engineer role assigned to it. This user will have full access to all 4 screens, with the single line being controllable. On the contrary, users whose role is new role can only access the controllable single line diagram and the alarms screen. Finally, we now know how to customize the web displays of INGEPAC IEDs using the latest web display editor add-in.
Ingeteam, electrifying a sustainable future.